Welcome to the Mapping Your Property session in the Learn About Your Land series. Please note the sound icon in the lower right corner. That icon indicates a slide with audio. After this lesson, you should be able to create a map of your property according to the goals and activities you have planned for your woodlands. You should also be able to find maps and aerial photos using online sources. There are several reasons and purposes for mapping your property. We'll go through each one of these. Viewing your property from above, rather than from the forest floor, can give you a different perspective. Where does that pine stand really start? Is there a part of your property that your trails don't cover? Are some of your trees dead or dying? You can see features like this from an aerial photo of your woods. Some of your interests may be beneficial to each other, and some may conflict. For example, cutting for firewood and maintaining maple for optimal syrup production might work well together when you are removing undesirable or dying trees to encourage the health of your maples. On the other hand, managing for maple syrup and prime grouse habitat may conflict. Mapping your woods may help you coordinate both of those activities without compromising either. By mapping out your property and future activities, you can better coordinate projects. For example, if you want to improve access to or through your woods, you can take advantage of an upcoming timber sale. The logging contractor may be able to assist you by creating logging roads that can be used as trails in the future. Your woods are just a small part of a bigger picture. Understanding the context around your property can help you manage your own property better. One example where the broader landscape is important is when planning for wildlife habitat projects. Looking at an aerial photo of surrounding property can help you determine whether there is a water source nearby, whether there are travel corridors that you can tap into, or whether surrounding land uses would exclude particular wildlife from using your property. What you want to have maps of will depend on what you want for the future of your property. If you primarily use it for hunting, maybe you want to map your primary hunting spots and the various wildlife habitat projects you will work on to support your hunting. If you want to plan a trail system, map out the various features you want to highlight along the trail. If you are concerned about the health of your woods, maybe you would want to map out where you have sick trees or where you have patches of invasives you want to control. The following images are some ways other landowners have mapped their property. There are several places on the web where you can get aerial photos. These photos are a great place to start for visualizing your property and what is around it. You can print these out and draw on top of them to create your own maps, or you can trace the boundaries and use the outline as a base for other maps. The DNR site is more complicated, but it does have a help section to get you started. The advantage of the DNR site is that you can compare several different years of photos and add various features like roads, the types of trees, and topographic maps to what you print. If you don't have access to the internet, you may be able to get copies from your local land conservation office, or you may be able to get assistance at your local library. Here is an example of an aerial photo from DNR WebView. You can see the houses, the river on the right side, and the road running along the center of the map. The north side of the road is more forested. The owner on the south side of the road could use this photo to draw a planting plan for the barren parts of their property, and could use the tree types on the north side of the road as a basis for what to plant on their property. Again, this is a nice way to capture a visual of your property at a certain point in time. Or you can draw features on this photo, or you can use this photo to trace your property for a hand-drawn base map, which we'll cover next. The next series of slides shows various maps you can produce from the DNR WebView page and ways of looking at your property. Again, this is an aerial photo of the land shown in the next 4 slides. This is a topographic map of that same area. The brown lines indicate changes in altitude. You can also see bottomland or wetland areas on this map. One way you might use a topographic map is in planning for trails. If you have steep changes in altitude, you may want to plan a trail that goes back and forth along a hill rather than straight up. This map shows how land has been classified based on what is growing or exists there. Using the legend next to the map, we can see this area has agriculture, grassland, broadleaf deciduous forest, and forested wetland. We can also get a map of the original land cover derived from land survey notes when Wisconsin was first surveyed. You can see that the area that is now grassland and agriculture was originally sugar maple, yellow birch, white pine, and red pine. This may be helpful if in the future an owner wants to know what types of trees to plant. Finally, you can get legal descriptions from the WebView site. This lists the township, range, and sections. We have more information on legal descriptions in our Find Boundaries and Corners session of this series. The next 3 slides are an activity for you. Each slide shows a map, and you are asked to identify where an area is on that map. When you start to draw your maps, begin with a basic base map. On this map, you see the road, the house, a creek, where the woods are located, and some of the other areas such as a cornfield and an old field. You may want to include other important features to the property, such as fences, property corner markers, future building sites, or other structures. From that base map, you can add other interests or goals. On this map, some wildlife features have been mapped, and future habitat projects have been outlined. In 2014, they plan to plant shrubs and fruit trees to attract wildlife, and it adds as privacy cover for the house from the road. They are also planning on doing some aspen patch cuts to attract wildlife that like various ages of aspen. This next example shows features and projects related to recreational use of the property. They identified the present trail, a tree stand, a favorite fishing spot, and some birdhouses they already installed. Next, they decided they wanted to build some trails in the future to connect the house to some of the ways they use the area. In order to get the grandkids outside, they are going to build a tree house on the edge of the woods. It is important to integrate your various interests and projects to make sure they will work together. As you can see here, when we put the wildlife and the recreation maps together, there is a trail planned through a part of the woods that will be cut for aspen about 10 years later. That trail won't be very useful after the cut, so they may want to consider moving that trail. Or they could plan to use it for 10 years and then see if they want to reestablish it after the cut. As you can see, with some simple tools and your knowledge of your property, you can create a map that will help you to meet your goals now and into the future. One thing to keep in mind is that your forest is constantly changing, and you will need to update your map as these changes occur. This might include identifying where a storm has knocked down trees, or the new kinds of trees growing in an area where you did a timber harvest, or how wildlife habitat has changed over time. Here are some next steps for you to take after viewing this presentation.